Hey. I can't wait to talk about either movie tonight. We had an interesting double feature today. Both movies, and we're reviewing the kids movie Wonder Park and the alien invasion movie Captive State tonight. And without saying whether either of them are any good or not, they're both movies that are giving you something entirely different than what is advertised in either movie or in either trailer or any of the advertisements for these movies that are out today. Okay.
Which one first?
Well, real quick, let me get the usual house cleaning out of the way. So we're gonna be doing Wizard World St. Louis from April the 5th through the 7th, and so come see us there, where we're also going to be doing a screening for our 2017 movie Jesus Bro as well, and we're going to have an exclusive clip of the upcoming Cinema Snob movie sequel. So that's coming up at Wizard World St. Louis. Get that at wizardworld.com with the promo code Cinema20. That'll get you 20% off. Also, subscribe to our Patreon as well. We're at patreon.com/thecinemasnob, and we added a new tier where you can get a personalized video message of your choice from me as the Cinema Snob character. So that's it. Patreon.com/thecinemasnob. Okay. Man, so there's a movie out that's called Wonder Park. I've gotten the trailer for this a number of times. This is the new kids animated movie that it's the theme park movie. If you've seen the trailer for this film, it's the one where the girl creates in her imagination, she creates this magical theme park in her mind where there's all these talking animals like a porcupine, a big bear, chipmunk, all of that. And she goes into the woods and magically, the park comes to life, and she explores the park with the animal friends, and something happens to where she's got to save the park. That's what you're shown in the trailer. And from the trailer of this movie, it appears like it would just be one of those kids movies that's just candy, basically.
Yeah, it looked like it was targeted towards a really young audience.
Really young.
Yeah.
Really, really, really young. That's kind of the vibe I got from a lot of the advertisements for the movie, whereas this might not be any kind of big deep thinking movie or anything like that. It just looks like, all right, here's something goofy and colorful. The animals are very colorful. The 3D will probably be fine. We actually went to go see this at the other theater in town, the one with the comfortable reclining seats that we usually don't get to go to.
Yeah, that was nice. I was not really looking forward to this movie, but since it was in 3D and it was the comfy seats that recline.
Well, I
figured
I was like, you know what? I haven't seen anything in 3D in a little while, and this movie looks like the kind of movie that if there's something decent about it, it might be the 3D, considering all the roller coaster stuff that's in the movie and all the theme park shenanigans and everything. It was showing here. It just wasn't showing in 3D till tomorrow, so we went to the other theater because I'm like, you know what? At the least, there'll be comfortable seating, and maybe the 3D will be fine. And the 3D was fine. It probably would have been better on an IMAX screen, to be perfectly honest, or in D-Box or something like that. But whatever, the 3D is fine.
Yeah, the animation's fine. I thought, there'd be parts where they would show water and it looked, not bad, or
our standards are, well, the water didn't look bad.
Water can be hard to animate, I would
think.
Oh,
I have seen the
Norm in the North.
Well, that, and also the Boxcar Children in Surprise Island, where water seemed like the hardest thing in the world for them to fucking do in that. So yeah, I know, watching this movie, I was like, yeah, okay, the 3D's fine. The animation is it's not bad. The animation works, but I mean, granted, the last animated movie we reviewed was Norm of the North 2.
Yeah, that's true.
But the animation was good in the movie. Far from being something like The Wild or whatever the hell that was called, the 3D Robinson Crusoe one, or Norm of the North or shit like that. It's like no, this is from Paramount and Nickelodeon Studios, so
I think because I was talking to you earlier about how I think it looked like European animation.
It is like a Spanish
I think it's from
company.
Spain. Yeah, the company that animated it.
Yeah, they did the animation, and
I mean, I could have read that wrong.
So this movie is, we walked out of this movie, and I said to you, that was one of the strangest kids movies I've seen
We were like,
in
that
years.
was bizarre.
What was this bizarre thing that I just sat through? Now, you've seen the trailer for this. You've maybe seen the trailer for this movie and just think, oh, well, that seems like nothing. What you don't get from the trailer of this movie is that, all right, the movie starts out with the girl and her mom. The girl's name is June. She's like a little kid, like maybe 8 years old or something. Mm-hmm. She creates this theme park with her mom, and to the point to where she's taking things from around the neighborhood and building like amateur theme parks in her backyard, which throws them out into like the downtown streets and shit like that. I was watching that going like, why do I feel like I'm watching a kids movie version of Action Point?
I was thinking that too.
Was it when they introduced the loop-de-loop?
Yeah. I was like, oh, this is Action Point for kids.
Well, both movies have a bear.
Oh, that's true.
This one, the bear talks and is narcoleptic. This one has his
character trait.
His character traits, the narcoleptic bear. The other one, he was in Action Point, the bear was an alcoholic. So when I'm watching the little girl in this movie talk, and she's manic and all over the place.
ADD.
Like eyes like rapidly going all over the place, jumping all over the place, creating this theme park. I was looking at it going like, I appreciate the fact that we have this lead in this film that is obviously like ADHD at the least.
Yeah.
But I was waiting for it to like, are you going to like really kind of acknowledge this? They don't really, but it at least seemed like it was maybe somewhat kind of aware of this even.
Yeah, it's also like keeps kids engaged when watching it, you know, when they have someone really talking a mile a minute, you know, like that might keep kids engaged in a movie, you know.
Oh well, I mean, Lego Movie 2 kind of did the same thing.
Yeah, yeah.
So both movies are movies that wildly need a nap. And then this movie suddenly gets like really real out of nowhere. Like I had to lean over to you and be like, what is happening right now? Suddenly the mom in this movie gets a phone call that she's like dying of cancer.
Yeah. Well, at first we were like, did I miss something? And
like, is she dead?
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
This movie's heart is in the right place. It's just very odd. Like we'll certainly get to that, like, because the mom goes off to the hospital. Suddenly what started out as this like shenanigansy movie now is like really darkly lit and is showing this dying woman in front of me, and she goes off to the hospital. The kid has to like deal with all of this grief and all of her emotions and taking care of her dad. Suddenly she abandons everything she thought was fun and it is now kind of the adult in the house and is really kind of taking care of the dad, and it just wants to abandon the whole Wonder Park thing. In the movie it's called Wonderland. They say Wonderland several times in this movie. Okay, I was getting confused because I tried looking up the movie to like see how long it was. And then I was looking up Wonderland, but I was like, this isn't the right movie. I think it's Wonder Park.
Wonderland's a wildly different movie. That's the Johnny Holmes Val Kilmer movie. Both practically the same thing. They're both about theme park rides. Only one of them's a 13-inch penis.
What?
I'll show you that movie later.
Okay.
So anyway, like it's the name of the park in the movie is Wonderland, but they couldn't call the movie that, so it's called Wonder Park. And the director of this movie was like fired in production.
Yeah, there's no director for this
There's no
movie.
director credited for this film.
What was the reason? Like,
It's like sexual harassment or something like that.
yeah, something pretty shitty.
Yeah, but I mean, like, before you fired him, maybe you should have communicated back and forth on what the title is of this movie. If you couldn't use Wonderland as a title, just dub over it in the movie and call it Wonder Park.
Yeah.
Although I guess some animation would have to be changed if you did that, because there is a big giant
simply
sign.
change it.
Well, I mean, you could, like, I don't know, like, have him say
yeah.
the line again or something. So, you see it in the trailer for this movie where she goes to the woods, like, and suddenly, like, the Wonderland appears in front of her, and it almost turns into a horror film. Like, I get where this movie is coming from. I get the ideas it has and what it's trying to do.
Like dealing with grief, and it's just like...
Yeah, it's... I didn't expect going into this movie for it to be like Alice in Wonderland meets A Monster Calls, but with the humor of like Madagascar.
Yeah.
Like
kind of all over the place with tone.
Tonally, it's wildly all over the place because there's like the humor in this movie is very juvenile. The humor is the woodchuck says, "What the chuck?" Like it's.
I missed that. At least there's no farting jokes. At least it's not like Lemmings or anything.
Well, yeah, it wasn't.
Or
It didn't hit quite that
or...
lowbrow. But the humor in it is certainly a lot of puns and a lot of like slapsticky things in the movie.
Yeah.
But meanwhile, the villains in this movie are like straight out of a horror film, where she walks in. And then it shows what has destroyed Wonderland, which is her mom being in the hospital, and it's literally caused this dark cloud of depression to hang over the park, in which the depression cloud, which in the movie is called the darkness, possesses these little toy monkeys that are called chimpanzees, that look
chimp zombies.
Chimp zombies that are called chimp zombies, straight out of a horror film. Like they'd be like the killer dolls in something like a 70s horror movie, or like someone back in the 90s where like a bunch.
Creepy.
Oh, holy shit! Watch this fucking movie again. They're terrifying in this. These little like monkey figures like running through the streets, like thousands of them, like they're zombies, like grabbing that large monkey and pulling him back. No, and
that part was kind of creepy.
You went to the bathroom though on like the darkest scene in this movie, which is like suddenly it became post-apocalyptic, where the animals just stone-faced are like, and here's when the darkness took over. It'd be like a flashback from Captive State. So like there's a dark cloud over him. Suddenly it looks like the last act of Josh Trank's Fantastic Four, where there's this like beam going up in the sky, and the depression has possessed these monkey toys to dismantle the park with axes and haul it off to this portal that's shooting it up into the depression cloud and destroying everything in the park, thus her creativity and everything. It was weird. And like, you were in the bathroom, I was like, I hope this scene doesn't end before she gets back, because this is bizarre. But then it would turn right around and do something shenanigansy with the John Oliver porcupine who shoots needles into the bear's ass, and the bear is narcoleptic for whatever reason.
Yeah, the bear looked just like that Charmin toilet paper bear. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking that the whole time.
No, he did. I can see that.
Yeah. Well, there was a part where they just start talking about, like, and then she starts realizing what the darkness is, and that, her creativity isn't as, with the grief, her creativity is not as high as it used to be. And so then they cut to this like 10-minute scene where the bear's on a roller coaster.
Yeah.
I was like, what?
The movie was trying to convince me something was going on. I mean, don't get me wrong, a lot goes on in this movie, but it's so rapid fire in how ADHD it is. The movie is structured like it's a little kid explaining a movie to you or a story to you, where they'll be like, And then, okay, and then the bear and the girl are on a raft on a volcano. And then, oh, they fall in a hole, and now they're in a zero gravity land with balloons. And then they have to escape. So the monkey with his magic pen creates a giant silly straw that they have to slide through. I'm not making this. This happens in this movie.
It's the way that they're explaining grief to a kid. I get it. Like the movie has like, you know, heart to it, or it's in the right place, you know.
No,
like I think they're trying to explain grief to like a 3-year-old or something.
Yeah, it sometimes it feels like it's catering. The whole thing is catering to kids. Some of it feels like they're catering to just different age groups. You have all this stuff like the darkness and the depression, everything, and the depression and everything, and grief. But meanwhile, the humor is aimed very, very, very young. Something like there are kids movies that deal with stuff like that balance it out pretty well, like something like Inside Out.
Yeah, Inside Out or something.
It balances it out a little bit better than this, or a movie like Up or things like that. This was tonally very weird, and it was also reminding me of it. There were movies that came to my head during this movie that I did not think would come to my head in watching a movie like this. So I know this is a movie you didn't see, but when they're communicating to the monkey, who's the creator of the whole thing, I can't remember what his name was, but
Peanut?
Peanut, thank you.
Yeah.
Peanut the monkey, who is like,
a chimp.
Okay.
Sorry. I'm sorry.
Did you really just
I'm sorry.
actually?
I didn't say actually. I'm sorry.
Honey, I
I'm
believe
sorry.
you mean whom.
I'm sorry. I'm
So,
sorry.
the monkey.
I'm sorry.
So Marcel,
I'm sorry. Oh, are you mad at me?
No. I'd be mad if commenters did. You're much prettier than than the typical actual lead.
I'm sorry.
I'm waiting for the to be fair. So when Peanut is creating everything, and so then when it's kind of in the world outside of that, where he's talking about how he hasn't heard his voice of the creator, who's the mom who is in the hospital. And you see these transitions between the world they've created and what they are outside the world, where it will zoom in on the girl's eye and zoom out from the eye of one of the animals that she's created in the park. Meanwhile, later on, when they're saying they're whispering in the pen's ear when it's in the real world, like, I think you should do this. And the monkey hears the voice inside of it saying, like, ooh, the voice is telling me to do this. That's a lot like that Serenity movie that I saw with Matthew McConaughey recently.
I was like, where's he going with this?
No, I was asking myself that in Serenity as well. Where's this movie going with this? So when this was happening in the movie, I was like, I was not expecting to have flashbacks to that movie as I'm watching this, because there were really kind of similar transitions between both of them. And it would just, because things move from here to here to here to here, the movie would try to sort of convince us there was like character going on when really there kind of wasn't.
Nah, not really.
Like when the warthog or whatever it was at the end.
Yeah, they're like, no, you're really the glue that holds us all together. I was like, where'd that come from?
I know, the Mila Kunis warthog, says to Peanut, the chimpanzee.
God, you are not gonna let that go for the rest of the night. I don't normally correct you.
Because I'm always right.
You correct me
kidding.
all the time.
I know. Oh, honey, it's the wrong side of the road. No, I'm kidding.
Of the road?
I'm kidding. That never happened.
Oh my God.
I'm sorry.
You're gonna be a jerk for the rest of the night. Oh my God.
See if I wear my monkey mask tonight.
Oh my God. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. I deserve to be punched in the shoulder. So yeah, they're like, Peanut, you're the glue that held this together, and he says to the warthog, like, no, it was actually you this whole time.
And I was like, what?
It would be like if at the end of Where's there was no setup for that. There's no characters with any of these animals.
No, there's not. Like, the bear's character trait is that he has narcolepsy, and
Yeah.
the thing with the John Oliver character, the porcupine, he
wants to bang the warthog.
Ew.
Oh no, it's true. He was in love.
I know.
And that was out of nowhere in the movie. But yeah, it would be like if at the end of Wizard of Oz, they were like, you had heart all along. But he never brought that up beforehand, that's what he wanted.
John Oliver, I liked the porcupine a little bit.
Yeah.
Just because I kind of like John Oliver. But he is the one that's kind of the know-it-all, but he has the voice for that. And then, and then, yeah, like Mila Kunis's warthog is just kind of like the leader. And, yeah, and then that's about it. And then the Peanut is, I don't know.
The movie's just
character.
random. Like,
Yeah.
I appreciate what the movie was trying to do.
Yeah.
I do appreciate that this movie is surprisingly trying to get into some pretty deep issues.
Yeah,
like,
I wasn't expecting it to like go into something like grief or
depression.
Yeah,
or anything like that. I mean, it is like you're watching a Nickelodeon version of Alice in Wonderland, kind of. And apparently this is all kind of a setup for a series that'll probably be on Nickelodeon, I'm sure. And I can kind of see that with this movie, that this is sort of made as almost like a advertisement for a series. But it especially because, I mean, it as dark as the movie kind of gets from times, it ends pretty safe.
Yeah, like it's not like it's a downer ending or anything.
Yeah. Envisioning magical theme park with talking bears really cures most things in this movie. So it's tonally, it's very, very, very weird. It 1 minute it's really, really light and its humor is very juvenile, but then really dark things will happen, and it's ADHD is absolute hell. I almost appreciated the themes more in this than I did in the second Lego movie, but I thought the second Lego movie was mildly funnier, and I wasn't even a huge fan of that movie, but I laughed a little bit more in it. This movie, I don't know if I laughed a single time during it. I wasn't sitting there mad, but I didn't really laugh during the film.
There's one part I kind of was like, was when she was like imagining all the things that can go wrong when she leaves her dad. And they're showing him like drinking like expired milk and like tripping and stuff. I was like, that wasn't like, you know.
That wasn't funny because that's
laugh.
me. Oh, dude, take some freaking hallucinogens before you go see this movie.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
It's very colorful.
Oh, yeah. Take a little something before you go see this film and see how that goes. I don't know. It's a movie that you don't need to pay top dollar to be seeing this in the theater.
If it goes on Netflix, then
yeah, if you put it on
kid.
TV or something, there is a message there. Like, so
it's definitely a kid's movie. Like, I wouldn't recommend it to an adult.
Not really, no. There's better movies that get as deep or deeper than
like
this
Inside
film
Out or
that are
something.
better than this movie, but at least this movie tried. I appreciate it for trying.
Yeah, like it tried something.
Especially how it's a tie-in for this being Pie Day, because there's songs in the movie about pie.
I was thinking about that. I was like, is that why they released it today?
Probably,
Yeah.
I mean, that's a huge coincidence if that's not the case.
Yeah.
All right, well, yeah, to wrap up Wonder Park, I sat there fascinated at how bizarre this movie is, how tonally bizarre, how it was just reminding me of things that are weird to be going through my head when watching this film. So I was kind of fascinated by its bizarreness in that regard. But would you like to talk about the movie we just got out of, Captive State?
I was not really following that movie that much.
You want me to take the reins on this one?
Yeah, well, I was... Well, during the movie, I'm getting over a cold, so like I've been having like a tickle in my throat and like
Mm-hmm.
my lungs, so I didn't want to be hacking up the whole time I was in the theater.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just like really kind of focusing on that during the movie
Mm-hmm.
too. And I was also kind of tired.
This is
And
why.
this isn't the kind of movie genre I'm really go for. But
Have you
can
seen a lot of movies like this one?
no.
No, I'm genuinely asking. Like,
You go ahead and take this.
Captive State, I wasn't expecting a lot going into this movie. This is the movie it's from the director of Rise of the Planet of the Apes. So it has that to its credit, certainly. But the reason I wasn't expecting a lot necessarily going into this is because I only first heard of this movie like a week ago.
Yeah.
Like, I think you and I were together and we got a trailer for this movie, and I'm like, where did that come from? And it comes out in like 1 or 2 weeks. Now I'm seeing a lot of banners for it and everything over on IMDb and a few websites as well. So I wasn't really like expecting a lot going into the film, because that's usually, there are exceptions certainly, but typically that's never been that great of a sign for me when I'm going into a mainstream wide release and am only just kind of hearing about the movie. Captive State is, if you've seen the trailer for this movie, it's the one it's an alien invasion movie that takes place 9 years after First Contact. 9 years after the ships have landed, a war has taken place. There was this treaty between humans and the aliens. The aliens manufacture underground. It's caused all of this poverty and everything for people living above. People are either really wealthy because they've gained from all of this, or just really, really poor, and everybody's tracked. People follow them around. If you're expecting any kind of typical alien invasion movie out of this, like I don't know, if you're going into this movie thinking you're gonna see like an Independence Day or a District 9 or something like that,
That's what I thought it was gonna be.
Check that at the door before you go into this movie, because this movie, here's what I was expecting, you know, aliens and some people getting zapped and things like that from the movie. What I wasn't expecting from this movie going into it is that it is this like espionage political thriller. Like, this is a hard drama. This is not an action movie. It is not an action movie. It's science fiction, but it is way more about like spies and insurgency and like, I'm like, why am I sitting here watching like an alien invasion version of Valkyrie or like The Man from High Castle or something like that?
Yeah, it does
like,
remind me a lot of Valkyrie.
Like, yeah, I'm like, so it's got a lot of different plot threads going on in this movie where they're passing back and forth information. There's spies getting their trackers cut out. You don't know who's playing for which side. There are messages being delivered back and forth with pigeons. There's
very little do you see aliens in this.
There's very, very little aliens in this movie. Most of it is about coming up with like a band of like rebels and insurgents creating bombs to eventually detonate something throughout the movie. And I was watching this movie like, I don't know who this movie's made for.
Yeah.
But I was watching it because I kind of know a little bit. Look, I don't know how well this movie's gonna do. It has a 100 right now on Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh, really?
Well, because it has 4 reviews for it. So far, only like 4 people have reviewed it, but those 4 do like it, and I see both sides of how people come out of this movie. If you get out of this movie and you were just bored senseless, like were not into this, didn't like it, I get it. But if you're really intrigued by a lot of it in it, about all the spying and there's a subplot with like John Goodman and Vera Farmiga, who's a prostitute, passing him information like I'm watching like a World War II spy thriller. Like, I was not thinking like, hey, you know that movie Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy? Wouldn't it be great if it had aliens in it? Like, like, so if I could see, if you're really into this kind of like science fiction literature, that you'd get something out of this.
I don't think this movie was made for me. It wasn't. It's just not my kind of thing.
Uh-huh.
There was a lot of stuff going on, and I wasn't really following.
You looked at me halfway in and you went, do you know what's happening? And I go, yeah, I kind of do. And then a little after that, you looked at me and you went, where'd the main character go? And I go, which character? I was like, which character have you designated as the main character?
Well, we kind of follow this one guy throughout,
the black kid?
Yeah, at least fourth of the way in the movie, and then he disappears for about like 30 minutes.
To set up new characters that
I was like, what's going on?
I was following it. Like, I was. This is one of those movies. Like, if I could see this, I could really see this working as like a mini series.
I could see that, yeah.
Like V crossed with America with a K. Or like that. And I don't know if this is based on a book. Maybe it is. But whether it is or whether it isn't, if you like the kind of sci-fi novel that this would be sort of reminiscent of, that's more about politics that are taking place, like I kind of do admire that about the movie, that it's mainly about the politics that are going on 9 years after what would have been a summer sci-fi movie.
Yeah, I'll give it that it did something different that I've never seen with an alien invasion movie. It became a political thriller, and I mean, that's cool.
You tried. Is that what you're saying? Like A for effort. Like, yeah, it is. I thought it was a well-made movie. Like it's the dude handled suspense really well in the movie, between his lighting, how gritty the movie is.
That's true.
It is a dark-looking film.
Yeah.
It's yeah. By the time it ended and everything, and I walked out of the movie, I was like, you know what, I do respect this movie. I do kind of admire that it is trying to do something a little bit different with a movie like this, with the expectations that you would have going into the movie.
Is Rise of the Planet of the Apes?
It's the James Franco one.
Okay, the other one though, I haven't seen it. Is that kind of also like political themes in it too?
Which one? Like Dawn and War? The other two?
Yeah, I haven't seen this.
Not really like that. Yeah, but they're not quite like this necessarily.
Well, no, I didn't think it like that. There's like, I don't know, I thought there was like some political themes or something that I heard.
I mean, yeah, but I mean, both movies are not. This one does kind of lack focus. Like, you're following random threads and random stories.
Yeah, there's a lot of people in this movie, and
some of the characters could have been punched up a little bit.
Yeah, like at least have a couple. I mean, I guess John Goodman was a standout.
He was the best character in the movie.
But they could have had like another few characters to stand out a little bit more. I liked some of the character actors that were in the movie, though. Like, it's got Kevin J. O'Connor in it, and Alan Ruck is in this movie, and D.B. Sweeney. Like, they're... Like, again, it is a gritty movie. This is the kind of movie... Aliens are barely in it, but what you do get is D.B. Sweeney torturing a guy as he's chained up to the wall, covered in blood, like, get the fuck out of here! Like damn, movie! Like, watching this freaking Zero Dark 30 all of a sudden. Yeah. It's... When I came out of the movie, and even when I was watching it, I'm thinking in my head, like, I'm kind of captivated by this movie, but that's... me. I mean, this is when I was watching it, I was thinking, like, how do I recommend this movie? Because, like, I was really going along with it, but I could see how a lot of people wouldn't. And I'm glad I saw it in a theater. I am. For me, it was worth it for me to see this movie in the theater.
I think this is a better movie, but in a similar way that I thought Black Hat was, the Michael Mann movie, which is that I was glad I saw that in the theater because I was at least focused on it because of that. Whereas
yeah, if I was at home, it'd be hard to focus on it.
It would be very hard for me to focus on this movie at home. My mind would be really drifting. It would be going all over the place. There's not a lot of characters in the movie that really, really draw you in. You're more drawn in kind of by like the mood in a lot of scenes and the way a lot of it's edited and shot, which is well, especially because there's a lot of edits in the movie that they do things creatively to work around a limited budget that they have. I appreciated that, how they worked around maybe not being able to show a giant explosion.
The aliens that when we do see them, I guess they look different than any other alien I've really seen. Like, they kind of look like porcupines.
They kind of, yeah, or like someone really liked those like pin art things you see at like Spencer Gifts.
You mean like where you put your fingers in it and it like
if you put that over your face, that looks a little bit like the aliens in this movie.
Yeah, but I think that's like a protective gear.
Oh, one of them gets like it ripped off of his
it looks like
face
a maggot
at one point.
Yeah. So I guess they look kind of cool. They look different.
I almost want to say to check this out of curiosity, just to really at least support the ideas that this movie has. Because I do respect it for that. I think it could have been better, certainly. I don't think it's a great film, really. But I'm like, it is a mature film dealing with this topic. I mean, in that regard, you'd probably be better off watching a movie like Arrival or something like that than this movie.
Yeah, like I was gonna compare it to something like Arrival, where it's just something I would recommend over this movie.
That is the better version of this movie.
It felt like a diet Arrival.
Kinda. Yeah. A little, but I'm still like, I at least like that there is this alien invasion movie with these really kind of adult themes going throughout it. Like, maybe that's a silly reason to say that I really liked it, but I wasn't bored in this movie. Like, I was...
a little bored.
Yeah, I could see you were getting a little bored in this film. And I get it. I get why a lot of people would. For me, I thought it was worth checking out, but if everything I said sounds even remotely intriguing to you, you might get something out of this. If not, I get it, man. Don't worry. Like, maybe wait and rent it or something.
It depends who I would be talking to. Like, someone like Owen, I wouldn't recommend it to. Or, like, maybe someone like you, I would. But, you know.
I'd recommend it to the guys up in Chicago, because the movie takes place in Chicago.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, Rob, go see this movie. They blow up Wicker Park in this film.
And Uno's.
Every time I see an Uno's, I write to Rob. I'm like, Rob, I am 5 miles up in the sky. There's an Uno's on this plane.
I had Uno's in D.C. at a metro station. Wait, Union Station.
He writes at Rob Walker. He writes back and he's like, oh, out of town Uno's. That's even worse.
It was so gross. This is like DiGiorno. It was like,
I like DiGiorno.
Yeah, but $20 for a DiGiorno pizza. I got a tummy ache after that.
Mine was fine. I'm used to eating like stuff that would give you a stomach ache.
Meanwhile, we were also out of town, and we had something healthy like.
What did we have? What was that place called? It wasn't a vegan because there was meat on the menu. Like mine had chicken in it. It was Regal? Is that what it was called?
I forgot.
It was in Cleveland. It's really good too. I had you got like some rice sauce. Yeah, I did get a little bit of a stomach ache after. It's like, ooh, this is healthier than what I usually eat. Ooh, I need to get me a convention hot dog to stifle the pain. 2 bratwurst, please.
Oh my god.
All right. Well, that's. I actually really enjoyed talking about both of these movies. That was Wonder Park and Captive State. Any other final thoughts?
No.
No.
Are
you sure?
No, we can just sit here.
We just sit here silently, like, just kind of like.
Whatever.
Alright, everyone. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Take care. Tomorrow we're at that Nancy Drew movie that's out.
Yay.
We'll be seeing the Nancy Drew movie tomorrow. I know Ryan and I think we're going to try to live stream Mario 64 again this week. So thanks a bunch, everyone in the chat, for watching.